Hello, everyone. Happy Obi-Wan Star Wars Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday.
One Wednesday, sure.
It is Wednesday. You got it right.
Yes,
You
yes.
nailed it.
I'm Eric. We got Emma. We got Lon. We're going to talk part 5 of Obi-Wan, written by Joby Harold, who's written all the episodes, but also Andrew Stanton, the director of the Finding Nemo movies and WALL-E.
And the voice of Crash, the sea turtle.
Yes, whose only previous live action work was John Carter. But yeah, he co-wrote this episode, which I found fascinating.
Thank you, Andrew Stanton.
Doing some Star Wars there.
Just keep swimming. That's what
Just
he's. That's
keep
his
swimming.
philosophy.
He does it very well. We're going to go full spoilers. So if you haven't seen the 5th episode, aka part 5, we're about to spoil it for you. All right, you still here? 3, 2, 1. Spoiler zone. Let's talk part 5. What did you guys think of an eventful episode of Obi-Wan?
Quite eventful.
Yes, very eventful. Overall, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were some things that happened that made me go, I guess it's just really hard to hear in a stormtrooper helmet.
This was a Twitter conversation I had.
Yes. However, it didn't really detract from my enjoyment of the episode. I think there were just a few moments where I was baffled by some stuff from a technical standpoint. And also, like, how does distance and physics work? But at the end of the day, it's Star Wars. It's Space Wizards. Who cares?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this one and last week both kind of, they're starting to show some of the limitations of just Disney Plus in this format and working in this way in these kind of rushed timelines. But at the same time, I liked everything that happened in this episode.
Yeah.
It didn't always happen and unfold in a way that I thought was like visually perfect and tight. And just like Emma, there were some like, there's a lot of stuff about like this door that leads into a hallway that leads into like a chamber, and the physics of it could have been worked out a lot better. And it feels like it takes a lot of different amounts of time for people to get through it, and it's unclear. Like, can you hear from this part to that part? And there's one part where Reva is doing a Jimmy Conway from Goodfellas, like trying to lead Vader to his doom. Like, no, it's right down that alley. There's some beautiful dresses, like right down there, and it's just like the blocking of it is just really awkward, and you're like, why is Vader falling for this? And it takes a while, and so there was stuff like that that kind of hung me up on this episode. But in terms of the drama and like what's happening with the characters, I thought it was terrific.
Pretty similar. I really dug this episode. Last week's was the only one that I was a little ho-hum on, but I thought this was way better, even though there are some quibbles I have that are mostly about the similar stuff about geography and stormtroopers that seem to not overhear things that are very, because there's just a couple times where I'm like, couldn't they have had Reva take prisoner Obi-Wan away
somewhere else
to have this conversation? But it's not like a episode ruining or series ruining moment for me. It's just I wish they'd staged that a little differently, because I really dug what happened in this episode.
Yeah, we were talking before we went on the air too. Like, I'm not actually sure. I feel like there's an explanation for this. Like, I feel like this is just like, they don't know how to make a show. I feel like it's either there was a budget time constraint limitation that like they just had to crank out a bunch of these really quickly because of the timeline and the rewrite and all of those
and COVID.
We're talking about busy friggin' people here. Like, they've all got other places to be. And then the other one is these real, I don't feel like I personally know enough about shooting in these real-time virtual environments. And maybe it gives you a lot of options on the post-production side.
Right.
But maybe on the actual production, being on set side, there are limitations that would explain some of this. Like, they couldn't make the setup different, or they couldn't build the set out differently, or
and
they
it's
couldn't
like
block this differently.
You can't hide a camera behind this thing because this thing doesn't actually
it's not
exist.
really
It's
there.
been rendered in Unreal.
Exactly. Like things like that I don't understand enough about this production environment to be able to speak on as an expert.
Yeah, I wonder the same thing, because this episode, like last week's, even though I like this one a lot more, last week's also had a little bit of that geography thing. I don't think we mentioned it that much.
With the rooftop shootout.
Right.
A lot of people were talking about that, and that was the first place I noticed too. Like, maybe they just can't put the camera
where it felt like stormtroopers were too close to things and stuff. Yeah. And again, these are not like incompetent people making this show, so it feels like there might be a little visible rush on this.
I mean, I would say the cinematographer, I'm blanking on the gentleman's name, the Korean gentleman who shot The Handmaiden, shot Old Boy, like works with Chan-wook Park, like world-class directors. Like, these are not people who are just like, I didn't get the right shot on the day. Do the best you can. Like, they're obviously working, like, pros who are going to nail it. And so, I feel like there's an explanation for why some of this stuff.
Yeah. One day maybe we'll hear a little more.
Right. Maybe when they release assemble the making of Obi-Wan.
Right.
So let's dig in here, though. The episode begins with a nice surprise moment. A moment I think we thought we would get a flashback to Anakin and Obi-Wan, but I also think they did throw us just because I think we assumed it'd be closer to Revenge of the Sith. So I don't think we thought we were going to see Rat Tail, episode 2, Anakin with Obi-Wan and the flowy hair. What did you think of getting to this little glimpse of this era?
Can I tell you that I really appreciate that they didn't do a lot of digital de-aging here. Hayden Christensen looks good, and they just they just made him up and gave him. I think maybe that was some of the decision here was the sort of Padawan, or any Padawan specifically, but Padawan Anakin has such a distinctive look about him, and he has the little rat tail braid, which kind of signifies that he's a Padawan. That I think it was easier to indicate how young he was supposed to be.
You didn't have to. There's enough visual cues that you don't have to.
Exactly. And so I bought it. I wasn't bothered by the fact that, he was twice the size that Hayden Christensen actually was in Attack of the Clones, because he was like a 19-year-old child. And now he is a grown adult man. And it was nice to see this interaction in a way that felt so much more natural than it ever felt in Attack of the Clones, which was maybe entirely 80-yard, I'm hearing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Love that they didn't de-age them and just let these two guys get out there and act and do a scene. I just like the scene. I like the way it worked in the episode. It felt like it almost felt like an episode of Clone Wars, and I mean this in a good way. It had that that kind of Filoni vibe of we're going to cut back and forth to this flashback that kind of highlights some of the themes of the episode. It felt very like Star Wars in that way. And just a cool thread to run through that, in addition to being a shout out and a prequels reference and all that fun stuff. It didn't just work as fan service. It also highlighted the shifting relationship between these two characters.
Yeah.
And that looks actually for all of our talk about the limitations of this production process,
that looks cool.
That looks awesome. For TV, that's incredible. A few years ago, we would have been blown away to see something like that.
And I love a chatty lightsaber fight. So this whole thing really worked for me as a framing device for the episode at large.
Yeah. And also, I was also totally fine with them not dramatically de-aging them. I mean, Hayden Christensen made Attack of the Clones 21, 22 years ago. They opened 20 years ago, the movie. It's fine. Look, I'm a big Better Call Saul fan, and I accept that all these actors are far older than the characters that they're playing.
Flipping Jimmy forever.
And then the dialogue thing that you mentioned about, I was very paying a lot of attention. I watched it the second time this morning, and I was like, okay, I think they're bending over backwards a little, but I understand why they're doing it, which is because this show is saying, guess what? Vader and Obi-Wan did meet again after Mustafar, but they want to be careful with the dialogue in A New Hope. When last we met, you were the master, I was the learner. I was like, that's why that flashback has him say, until you overcome this, you'll always be a Padawan. Right. Because, it works very well, the idea that he knows Vader/Anakin, he knows how he works, and I think we're gonna see Vader work some of that stuff out to the point that he feels like he's putting aside a last remnant, because we see he's remembering this too, the way it's intercut at the beginning.
It is actually originally presented as Vader is having this flashback.
Yeah. And so I think that works well, and it's we'll see why he would feel like, oh, I still had that little bit of Anakin I needed to squash away in this finale coming up. So let's talk about other stuff that happened in this episode, though, which is Reva's backstory. Again, I think most of us, except for people were like, why is this stuff happening?
Was a real giveaway.
Yes. I do think the fact that he stabbed her was the big holy crap thing to me. She didn't just see him, he phically tried to murder her.
Right, but she managed to live, and she just hid amongst the bodies. So it's I guess too, though, it's I get that she was getting close to him in order to hunt him. And so I guess she was just trying to use Obi-Wan as her like trophy to give to him to get in his good graces.
It's a little weird because she's got several opportunities, especially if you buy that she's willing to trade her life for his, which I think you get from this episode. That she'd be willing to die if she takes him with her.
Absolutely.
And so she's had opportunities. Like when she's there, when he invites her onto the ship and he's like, "You've done well," and he makes her Grand Inquisitor. If she just pulled a Tala and brought a bomb with her,
right.
blow him into space, he's gone, you know? Like she doesn't know about the Leia general flying through space move.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that at this point in the timeline. So, you know, like it feels a little thin. Like her plan being just, I gotta get in the same room with him so I can kill him. It's like, well, he would have done that. This plan of sneaking up behind him while he's watching Obi-Wan's ship take off is not a great plan. It reminded me of Skyfall, where the whole movie is like Javier Bardem's trying to get in the same room with Judi Dench, and it's like your whole plan is like kill his old lady.
You could have gone up to her Starbucks.
Just like follow her to like a restaurant. Right? She goes out in public. I think it's the same thing. It's like, how hard is it to get to? We've seen, even by New Hope, Darth Vader's accessible if you're in the Empire. You walk up, Admiral Modi walks up to him.
Yeah, I think they could have, maybe set it up a little differently to be like...
There's a guy talking to him right there.
Right. Maybe if we hadn't seen them one-on-one earlier, if it had been like she's one of the Inquisitors, but she has not been alone with him or something a little more separate.
Only the Grand Inquisitor's allowed to be or something. Yeah.
And I also totally get that she is intelligent and she is aware what he is capable of. So I get why she would want to get to the point where she had completely like gotten through his defenses, and then Obi-Wan brings up once he's there, like, and you know, the idea that it's like, okay, Obi-Wan's here, so Vader's going to be entirely focused on Obi-Wan because he has this obsession with wanting to show him that he has learned and he is the superior, I guess. But yeah, it is curious then, because Obi-Wan does offer her the option of like, oh, okay, cool, well, we're together, so we can take him down together. But I get also that she addresses the fact that she's not really sure that Obi-Wan is ready to kill Anakin, and he can't divorce Darth Vader from Anakin Skywalker. So yeah, it's complicated.
That part I didn't have a problem with. Yeah. Like, it does feel like part of the dark side thing, mission of revenge, is like, no, it's got to be me. I don't want to team up with you. You kill him, and I'm just there. I got to be the one. So that part that didn't bother me, but yeah, it just feels like she would have had. I really was expecting. I expected this turn, but she had more of like a plan or like a scheme, or it's not just about killing him. I want to like show him this or do this to him first or whatever. And I feel like, it was just like, and then I'll like wait till he's turned around and then I'll like run up behind him.
Yeah, I think that's I wish there was better specifics, but I do think it all tracks as far as like, you know, she has turned to the dark side. She has killed people, and she is all motivated by revenge. Actually, the real Grand Inquisitor has that line about revenge does wonders for your will to live, which is talking about him living, but it's also how Darth Maul lived in the Clone Wars, and this idea that like they're fully just motivated by revenge. So it's like, you know, even though Anakin did a terrible thing and killed these kids, now she doesn't care. Like, she's like still yelling, wipe them all out about like all these people on this planet. Yeah. She just wants to get Vader. Yeah. Like, that's her sole thing. Look at the Grand Inquisitor there, just waiting. I always like to think about when the villains are like, you wait back. Vader's like, wait back there.
He knew he was alive the whole time.
We're going to bring you out like right there. It's going to be so like, cool.
First I'm going to fight her, and it's going to be
totally going to have no idea, bro. Oh my God. I'm going to get her so bad.
That's a classic fiction trope. Yeah. And also explaining, I guess, that is the same guy from Star Wars Rebels.
That was the thing, I was like, okay, he looks too similar to the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels. Not identical, and there was a lot of hullabaloo about the design of that makeup versus the design of the animated character.
And also the fact that Rebels purposely made characters too inhumanly. It was animation. They looked too skinny.
It was very stylized.
And people were like, he's not skinny enough. I'm like, because he's a human being.
Yeah, it's a person.
Stylized animation.
Yes.
Which is a thing. That's a thing people do.
Yeah. So, but again, I thought he always looked too similar to the Grand Inquisitor from
be like,
Star
it's
Wars
another
Rebels
guy.
to not be that character.
Yeah.
So it is that character.
I'll throw in a little bit of the AMA as we go through here. Bruins fan 1144 asks, do you think Obi-Wan and Anakin will fight again now that they basically made good on the learner master quote from New Hope? I mean, he notably was left his lightsaber in this episode when he wasn't sure if he'd face him or not.
Yeah.
But I still don't think they need to fight. I mean, we know we talked about that after the second episode.
I feel like there's a pivotal thematic turn in this episode where
I know exactly what you're
Obi-Wan quotes a line that he says in one of the other episodes. There's other ways, there's other solutions than fighting.
Yeah, I don't see that they have to.
So I feel like this is the moment when Obi-Wan has his realization that, you know what, my best tactic here is not constantly pulling out my lightsaber and fighting. It's negotiating, talking, figuring this out. And then we'll see him, of course, in A New Hope employ that again. And so I don't think Obi-Wan's going to do any more big showy fight
I think
scenes.
that thematically it wouldn't make sense for them to fight again.
Yeah, I agree.
Or if they did, it would be a variation almost on A New Hope where it's like he's not really like doing a big like I'm gonna beat you in this fight. It's more like just defensively like I don't need to have this fight.
It's sort of it's just like we saw at the end of this episode where it's like an outsmarting move.
Yeah,
he's got their stowed in this other ship and then that ship and then the switch ship. Like it's gonna be some other trick or
and I think
game or way
exactly that it feels thematically in line with the Obi-Wan the hermit Ben Kenobi who we see in Star Wars Rebels who finally actually kills Darth Maul. Like I now feel like Obi-Wan is going in that direction of recognizing that like the fight isn't always a physical battle. Like, yes, he does in Rebels, like immediately just kill Darth Maul in a very like homage to like samurai films, which is incredible. But again, like so much of that comes from the fact that he's completely let go of whatever, like he didn't have the grudge with Darth Maul that Darth Maul held against him, even though he had reason to because of his involvement in the death of Duchess Satine. But he'd let it go at that point. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. Letting it go is a good Disney theme. Let's talk a bit about Vader, just like his show of power in this episode. We didn't mention last week that I like that he's storming in Vader in this show.
He's very like Rogue One, like let me at him.
Grab
that guy.
Yeah, he makes an entrance. But yeah, he stops the ship at one point, although Obi-Wan, they have foreseen that and have outsmarted him. And then just, that fight with Reva, I thought was great as far as like he never takes his lightsaber out. He uses half of her lightsaber to fight at one point.
Yes.
But yeah, it just it's fitting because we've seen going back to Empire Strikes Back really with Luke. It's like he's basically so powerful that he's toying with these characters.
Yeah, I really like the she pulls out the spinning lightsaber move and he's just like nah.
right.
Let's slow that down.
Right. I don't need any of that fancy
stuff. She didn't helicopter at all.
She didn't
like
helicopter.
The Inquisitors do sometimes in Rebels.
Yeah, she did not helicopter. Let's talk about actually where we leave her, which is not dead.
No, she's definitely coming back.
But it's interesting note we leave on because she finds the little message from Bail Organa, but it's like, what will she, which is, a very bad thing to find because it basically like points into Tatooine. So it's like, is she
Kumail's fault?
All Kumail's fault. I will say.
Dang it, Kumail.
Yeah, he should
Can't
have
bring
been,
that guy anywhere.
He should not have dropped that thing.
Druig sucks.
Actually, it's funny because I thought Bail Organa had a great little moment in that hologram, which is basically being like, I'm really worried about my daughter. I hope she's not dead, but I'm going to go protect Luke if I need to because that's all I can do right now.
Right.
Like, I thought that was actually a really nice beat. But I was like, but Bail, you should have probably just said, I will go help the boy. Not like I'm going to Tatooine.
Not like I'm going to go to Tatooine
and
I'm going to find Luke Skywalker at this address.
Well, I do like that's a very Star Wars tropey thing. Is just you give a planet and then people are like, oh, I know where to find it.
Right.
They give you a planet. Like imagine if I was like, we're going to be on Earth. Come meet me there.
Right. Yeah. I'll
see you at
big is the planet of Tatooine?
Yeah, it's like you got it. There's at least 2 big cities.
That's true.
There's one little one we know of now. So we'll fill that in. But no, I thought that was interesting. Like, because we see Luke at the end. I mean, it's one of the interesting sort of trap / the thing they have to figure out because look, they're not going to figure out Luke's there in the next episode.
No.
So what will Reva's role be presumably her final thing. Like she'll probably die in the finale, but like not.
I don't know. Like she won't be an Inquisitor anymore.
No.
But she might have some way to leave the show that's not death, that's also not things that would be relevant in the other episodes.
Right.
I could I don't know. I'm not guessing, but
She'll
theoretically
have 2 big lightsaber wounds in her stomach, some scars to talk about.
Listen,
now.
you got some
same
robot
dude.
parts
She's
in
like,
there.
same dude. Stab me there 10 years apart.
Throw some robot parts in there, you're fine.
It happens. I will say, I do think that, there was actually a line of dialogue in this episode that I thought was good to sort of shut up some people who felt like Moses Ingram didn't know what she was doing, which was the Grand Inquisitor saying, like, your rage was useful, now it's tiresome. It's like, she was playing at that level because that's the character's level.
That's totally the character's level. And I think, again, it works thematically with all of Star Wars, which is that revenge is not the way. You know what I mean? Because, her whole MO was, I want to get revenge on Anakin Skywalker for what he did to me and the other younglings I was training with who were my family. And because she is entirely motivated by revenge, she's not able to get to a level where she's one with the Force and able to overcome Vader.
Right. You
know,
we have to find that balance.
Victory. Right. You're too obsessed with victory, Anakin.
It's what we were talking about with Tala last week. Like, a lot of Star Wars is a critique of the Empire.
Yes.
Like, here's the Empire's worldview and ideas, and here's why they're wrong, and here's how the rebellion manages to one-up them time and again, because it plays on these weaknesses. And that's not like they made a mistake in the show and the Empire is weak. That's what it's about. That's the story. And so, yes, she is kind of this bully, and she is very self-involved, and she's kind of caught up in her mission of revenge and missing the bigger picture. And that's the character.
And that's why
problem with the performance.
That's why they very purposely, I thought, in this episode, give her tragic backstory, but then after that, she's screaming, wipe them all out. It's like, it's not to be like, see, she's a good person.
No.
It's like,
Oh, no.
It's just like, no, this messed up thing happened to her, but now she's murdering people.
Right.
Twisted by the dark side.
And also being used by other people who are dark side Force wielders. Exactly. The Grand Inquisitor saying, hey, it was really easy to manipulate you and make you one of us because you were so angry, and I loved that for a while, but now you're done. I love that for you, but now you're done.
Right. I want someone to mention, it was a funny episode for Stormtroopers because on one hand, weird geography stuff. They need to have their helmets to be able to hear better. But this was one of the only times in the same episode, one of the times I thought Stormtroopers were scary, which was when so many of them came in and killed a bunch of people. Like, it's funny when I thought back on New Hope, I'm like, well, off screen, they kill Jawas and they burn Owen and Beru to death. But on screen, they miss our heroes. Their armor is useless. But in this episode, we see just a bunch of them swarm in, and that it's too much for those people, and a bunch of people just get shot point blank by Stormtroopers. So I was like, okay, that's one of the only times I've seen Stormtroopers.
That's true.
Like,
they're like an actual menace in it. Although I have to say, with these Disney Plus Star Wars shows, they tend to over rely on our heroes are all collected in this one room behind this powerful door. And then the Empire arrives with a whole battalion, and they're right outside the door, and they're like, blow up that door. Like, I think that's both seasons of Mandalorian and Boba Fett have that as their big climax.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you guys could use a different big climax.
Last Jedi.
In addition to the bells, it's just like every Disney Plus Star Wars series uses the siege on the small room containing all of our heroes by the powerful Empire weapon. And it's like, all right, 4 times is a charm. Let's come up with it.
I also want to mention, though, in the Stormtrooper attack, a scene that emotionally really got me, which was the death of Tala.
Oh my God, me too.
And let's not forget Ned B.
Let's not forget
Ned
loading
B.
droid Ned B.
Not forget Ned B.
He tries to protect her. And
my God. Okay, I'm gonna go on a little tangent for a second here, but so I used to do an actual play, Star Wars tabletop RPG, and towards the end of our finale episodes, we had a droid in our party. It was like a K2 droid at this point. It had originally been a B1 battle droid, but then like it's like memory banks, personality, whatever, got uploaded to this other droid.
As happens.
Yeah, as happens.
Sure.
And in the end, like one of the last episodes, we were like on basically like essentially like Darth Revan's ship, and Joe Starr's character was about to get murdered. Like he was being like shot at, and our droid protected him, and he lived, and I was heartbroken. And so I like totally had flashbacks to that. And then of course I was like, oh, there's going to be some sort of self-destruct situation here. And then, of course, she pulled out the thermal detonator. And I was like, no.
But you know what really made that scene for me? Because, of course, we've seen the I'm not making out of here alive. So,
I'm going to take myself out to take out the bad
But
guys.
her performance, because she plays it so sad and tearful, because we don't see that a lot. We usually see the stoic... and I was like, I think a lot more people would be really sad to realize they're about to die. And so
They're like they're going to do the right thing, but they're like, oh man.
Like from the moment she's like shot and pinned down, like she's like tearing up. And I was like, oh my God, that really got me, like the way she played that.
Yeah,
you know?
and also the fact that she had such a, like she laid out her own story of how she came to be involved in kind of the burgeoning rebellion and the path, and how, you know, they had to basically gun down and kill these Force-sensitive families, and how she was kind of on this path to atone for that. And that all really worked for me. And and again, like her performance of it was I was doing good things, and I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. Yeah, I've loved Indira Varma's performance in this whole series. I did not necessarily expect to like her so much, but she really stole the show for me.
I thought she was great. Jonas Tiger says that Tala dying was like when that guy in Starship Trooper sacrificed himself with a bomb against arachnids. I mean, it was a trope.
It's totally
Aliens
a trope.
has it. But the way she played it is, I thought, what made this one so impactful.
Kong Skull Island has that great take on it, where Shea Wiggum is going to take himself out to save them, but then the monster just smacks him with its tail, so he blows himself up but doesn't save anybody.
Oh yeah,
Remember
that's right. That's right.
Great.
The missed opportunity.
Revision, right, like revisionist take on this beat.
Yep. And then let's see. Green Star asks, when do we think... I actually had this question too.
Oh, yeah.
The flashback lightsaber fight was pre-episode 2 or post. Didn't see the hands, haha, which is
that's legit.
Looking. Here's the two things I was looking at, trying to see it. Not in the first time, but when I watched it again, does Anakin have a robot hand? But also, what lightsaber is he using? Because he doesn't have the Skywalker lightsaber in episode 2.
Right.
And to me, he didn't seem to have a robot hand. So I think this is before Attack of the Clones.
I read this as like just pre-Attack of the Clones. This was weeks before the action.
Padme's
of
gonna arrive
2.
soon.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my feeling for sure. Was definitely before Attack of the Clones.
Right. Yeah. They're on Coruscant. Padme's not there yet, and like the action of Attack of the Clones is like imminently going to begin.
Yeah,
that was my take. Obviously, I could be wrong.
I think so too. I don't know if there's a continuity error or not with someone holding the wrong lightsaber, but
I would presume they got that right. Like that's the kind of question I don't even try to answer for myself, because I'm like, Filoni knows better than me anyway. He's gonna get that right.
Bruins fan 1144 asks, has anyone on the internet named the owners of those lightsabers and robes?
I'm sure
Obi-Wan.
somebody
it's a good
has.
moment. Obi-Wan, it's like they have all these lightsabers and robes for Jedi they lost. Is there a familiar lightsaber or two? I bet it's like
I'm
last week where I talked about how one of the Jedi that they had in that creepy tomb was a familiar Clone Wars character. It's probably the same thing here. I'm not guessing they're all from something.
Totally.
But
it's a good spot to throw in an Easter egg for your real eagle-eyed fans.
Yeah.
Dragon Con trivia winners.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Bruce fan 1144, you're getting a lot in here because you also mentioned that Vader can breathe in space for a limited time with his suit. Look at Rogue One. This is true. It would have been bad for Reva if she blew up the ship, and he's just like, I'm good. You know.
And for all we know, he can also use the Force to manipulate his body through space. So
I mean, it's still a better plan than like wait till he's turned around and then
Fair.
sneak up and stab him.
Yep.
Like that's not gonna work.
Yep.
That's not gonna.
Oh, can I make a weird, just a random observation I forgot to mention at the top, which is that the previously on strangely included the death of Wade that many joked about, like we didn't care about Wade emotionally, like he's just there as a symbol.
Yeah.
To the point that I thought, did Wade have more scenes?
Wade
that got
returns.
Yeah, you're like, did I miss something?
like because it was really it's like not like his buddy.
Wade eventually turns into Chewbacca.
Weird.
There you go. Because Wade's buddy is played by Maya Erskine.
Yes.
And she didn't even have anything significant in this episode to justify that. So I was like, I bet this previously on was cut before these episodes were finalized.
Probably have more
And
scenes.
Wade, there was a Wade runner, not a wave runner, that we're lacking here. Let's see, guys. Any other final thoughts on this? The penultimate episode, one of my favorite words to say.
Yes. I think that we need to give Lola a break.
Wow, yeah, rough season. She's been through the ringer.
right.
Leia's little droid, my gosh. Here's a design flaw also. The fact that they can't get to the workings of that mechanism.
It's a
I
little
could have done with how prolonged Leia in the duct was. It felt like a little drawn out.
We can't get that open. How do you fix it? And he's like, I don't know. I can't get in there.
I can't get in there.
Aren't you? There's no way to fix it in the world. That's a design flaw.
Yeah.
I feel like O'Shea Jackson Jr. He must have been cast in something else, and this is set up because this doesn't feel like enough for him. He's a movie star.
Again, like the way with like Andor and all these things, like there's a lot of room.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like he's being introduced, and then the idea is we're gonna like pick this up. And
this is era-wise. A ton of these characters.
He's gonna be like Rebel Alliance founder guy and something else. But he's too big a star.
And he
for
has
like,
a whole poster.
He has
a whole poster.
Listen, he's Ice Cube Jr., and I'm saying you don't send him to space just to be like the guy who's rounding people up in this one episode.
Yeah, it's funny because like you never know the way these things work. I mean, look, when they made the prequels, they didn't know these shows were going to exist. But I'm even thinking like you look at Attack the Clones, where Jimmy Smits is in there for 2 seconds, and if you don't know who Bail Organa is, you would have like, why Jimmy Smits?
Yeah.
And then he has a little more in episode 3 to at least justify like, oh, he's Leia's adoptive father, but nothing that significant. It's like only been in recent years that he's come back and been like,
it's
here's
so
the stuff.
Interesting because I have such vivid memories of him showing up in the prequels.
Right. Yeah.
Yet, if you go back and watch the prequels, he didn't really do very much.
No,
he was
he's got
just
his little
there.
flying convertible. He gives Yoda some rides, but that's about it.
Yeah.
He does catch Yoda. Haunted Autumn says #Wade lives. Yes, this is actually going to be referred to as the Wade era when we find out
Dawn of Wade
in totality. Al Mosic 210 says I wouldn't be surprised if O'Shea Jackson pops up in Andor.
Yeah,
I think that's
Andor or
also.
something else. I feel like he's in their back pocket. They know they've got him for some future project because it feels a little thin, his involvement so far.
Yeah,
he's there.
But yeah,
I don't really feel like we know much about him or
no. I mean, we knew think about his wife. Again, I mean, the show is definitely this whole idea of like the path. That seems like a huge runner that could be done. They could do stories before or after, like their prequels.
It's going to be like this lead into the Rebel Alliance.
Star Wars: The Path, guys. There's a title right there.
That's what this whole era is going to end up being called, this collection of shows.
Well, I mean, I do feel like because Andor, we know. Like they're saying it starts at his childhood. It picks up like right before Rogue One. So Yavin 4 is in that. That exists in Rogue One.
Yes.
Right,
so like the creation of the Rebel base.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where a lot of these disparate groups. That would be a good plot line to bring them all together. It's like we should build a base together somewhere.
And you never know if you're an actor in Star Wars, because you're just reminding me that Genevieve O'Reilly was Mon Mothma in episode 3, had all her dialogue and most of her scenes cut.
Yeah.
And now she's like a lead on Andor.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I'm very glad to see her as a lead on Andor, and I like that she got a new outfit.
Any final predictions for next week's finale?
Oh man! Well, we saw little baby Luke sleeping in his bed. Obviously we're going back to Tatooine, everybody's favorite.
We also know Bonnie Priest.
I was just saying, Bonnie Priest. Yeah.
From the prequels is in this show, and we have not seen her
We
yet.
technically saw her. She got a credit.
But like,
I know, but I hope
she's not. She got out of Nexium.
she got out of having watched that
She's gotta
HBO
have more to do.
documentary and being happy for her being in the show. I hope that
if you escape Nexium, you deserve at least a line of dialogue.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess Bail Organa's going to I think we're gonna have everybody on Tatooine
except Vader, though. I don't think Vader can make it there. I think it's gonna be. Yeah, like we've already put a lot of connected tissue here, but I think we're gonna finalize that stuff about. Where we leave off with Obi-Wan and Vader, that like when they see each other in New Hope, what it means to them.
Yeah, and also again, as you point out, it's not like we're meant to believe that third sister Reva is suddenly a good guy. You know what I mean? Like I think that her overhearing the thing about Luke on Tatooine, it doesn't say Luke, but you know what I mean. I think that she's just going to use that as like, okay, I have another chance.
Right. No, I think she knows where Obi-Wan's going next. And try to get him there, I think. Yeah.
Actually, I'll throw in one last question since it's about the finale. Zeno Hour asking, do you think Obi-Wan will fight Vader on Tatooine? And are you worried about possible continuity issues in the finale? I don't think they're going to.
That is a continuity.
Yeah, I don't think. I would be surprised if Vader sets foot on Tatooine in the finale.
They're being so sort of careful about the continuity stuff. Like
it would be funny if Vader chases him to Tatooine and then Obi-Wan like takes off in a ship and then just like circles around. Like, is he gone? Okay, he'll never know I'm still here. You know,
the planet where I grew up, where I first met Obi-Wan. Maybe should I check it out?
Do they throw in the now that they've so embraced the I hate sand? Star Wars Celebration, you could buy multiple merch that says I hate sand on it. So do they have Vader just say it?
Amazing.
Like that's the final line of the series.
He lands on the
like I've always said. I hate
sand, and then just immediately gets in his cruiser and takes off.
right.
Again.
That's our prediction for it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back next week to talk about the finale. We'll have more today. We're going to have a Miss Marvel chat here later on the channel. What's coming up on Twitch?
Yeah, so today we are going to be doing a look back at the Honest Game trailers of 2022 so far. Just kind of vibing with our Honest Game trailer writer. And then the plan is to maybe also start the Quarry today. We're definitely playing the Quarry tomorrow, but it's all going down live 3 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/fandom. Come hang out with us. It's we just like vibe and game and chat and have a great time.
Do that. Fandom Twitch at 3 p.m. Check out this channel on YouTube, Fandom, for later in the afternoon for Miss Marvel. I don't know the exact time, but it'll be in the next couple hours. Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.